Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video I wanted to talk about making custom servos for your props and how you can better use servo technology for your advantage to upgrade regular store-bought Halloween props. So servos, simply put, are usually a small motor that is inside one of these, and then it's connected to a gear train so it can get higher torque and also reduce the speed of the motor. And then the servo controller board is able to fine-tune the output shaft of the motor via the potentiometer that's usually connected to it. So then you can get precise movements from the output shaft. So I'll start off quick by showing you servo taken apart. So here is an MG90S servo. These are pretty common for use in smaller animatronic things. If you've seen any of my other videos on my channel, Grimm uses MG90S type servos to move his head as well as his eyes. So these servos, you can take them apart pretty easily. The gear train is all up here, and you can turn it a lot easier if the motor is removed. So that's all that's really up there. But here's the guts of a servo. This one's pretty basic. So you can see there's the small motor that's original to it. And sorry about my fingernails, I've been doing mechanic work. So basically there's 3 wires on a servo, and so the middle one is a positive power, and then this one here on the side is a negative wire, and then the other one on the other side is a signal wire. And basically there's a sine wave that's output from your servo controller unit between the negative and signal wires, and then the computer board is able to decode that and then tell the motor here to either move right or left to tune the potentiometer. That's basically all it's doing, is tuning the potentiometer. And then you can see the potentiometer has 3 legs. There's a center and then 2 sides. So there will be power going to the center pin of the potentiometer, and then depending on how far it is between the 2 legs, it can tell the rotation of the output shaft. So then it's able to move the motor to tune the potentiometer as well as the output shaft it's linked to. So using that same type of logic, you can apply it to larger motors, as you'll see shortly. So now here's one of my custom servos. It uses an MG90S board, and what I did is I cut the original potentiometer off because it was a bit cheap, and I glued this new trim potentiometer. You can find these on Amazon and eBay. Basically it's plastic, and again still it has 3 legs. It's a bit hard to see since I put glue on it. But I just attached the same legs. The 2 that you need to, basically you need to make sure that you attach the center pin of the original one to the center pin of your new potentiometer, and then the 2 side ones, it doesn't really matter as long as the motor is connected correctly. And if it's not, all you need to do is reverse the power leads for the motor output, and then it should fix the problem. You can see here I've soldered 2 power leads. I desoldered the original small puny motor and soldered on this larger one that was original to this head movement. These are pretty standard animatronic head movements, that it just has a spring to make it pop back up, and then it has a motor to make it move. And so usually these are pretty clunky because all it does is open and close, and it usually clanks a lot. But if you turn it into a servo by having power connected onto the motor from the servo output, and then you have a potentiometer somehow linked to the output for the mouth. And that's what I did here. This one's a bit shoddy. I've made 3 or 4 now. I made one for Grimm's mouth as well as Grimm's arm and waist. So this one's definitely not my best work. Basically, I just attached a servo armature movement here and glued it in place. Then I used a paper clip to link it to this other armature and glued it onto the output of the potentiometer. And so then when the mouth moves up and down, it gets the potentiometer to tune, and then the servo is able to know the position of the mouth. So there you can see now with it as a servo, you can get a lot more precise movement out of the mouth and be able to pause it in a downward position and actually hold that state. Whereas normally it would just open and then close, and it would be wasting power usually because the motor would have to be constantly supplied with energy in order to actually get it to a certain spot. Whereas this one, once it gets to a location, the servo board will usually shut off power to the motor, and it will stay in that position until you tell the servo to move it again. So this is just a lot more efficient for getting talking movement out of your props. So hopefully this video explains a bit more on how servos operate and how you can actually use them in your props. Be sure to check out the other videos on my channel, because I did also explain when I was making custom servos for Grimm. I think my most impressive one was his arm, because I used, this one actually has a metal gearbox and his arm has to support a lot of weight. And I tried actually using a high torque servo here with ball bearings, and it was not able to lift the arm as the original motor did. And that's sort of my main reason for inventing these smaller, well, reused servos, where you can use the computer board from a servo to control one of the original prop motors, so you don't even have to retrofit anything. I did the same thing for his waist as well, where it had a larger plastic gear motor box, and I was able to just glue a potentiometer to the output shaft underneath, and then do the same thing where I soldered the power leads for the motor to the servo control, and then you're able to animate it. So thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, just let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out the other videos on my channel.